Welcome to another episode of On the Mark with Arpit. My name is Arpit Sharma, and with me, uh, as sparingly as the past 2 weeks, is Mark Seagraves. Mark, a very warm welcome to you, and thank you for joining us again because your esteemed presence is so rare these days that we've had a little delay in our podcast. So why don't you tell whoever's going to listen to this why we've taken such a long break?
Well, every 6 months I have to go out of the country to get a stamp for my visa.
From India,
This
obviously, in case
from
someone
India,
hears it from
yes,
Pura. Yeah. Mm.
yeah. So I decided to go to the Maldives,
Okay.
which is a beautiful place, absolutely
Yeah.
stunningly beautiful. But I found it a little bit tedious after the second day.
Okay.
Yeah, and I got my stamp and I'm now ready to go again. The Globetrotter is home.
Mm. And do you want to add to that bit where you were actually in my house and me, Arpit Sharma, was saying, "Hey, we should probably do a podcast," and what you were lazy about it. Do you want to just say that so that?
Yeah, it was my fault totally not. Yes, but I did stay. I did stay at Arpit. Very very nice gesture by him.
Yeah.
And we left. I stayed a couple of days with Arpit. We went out and had a couple of drinks, a bite to eat, and he was the perfect host.
Yeah, with this guy named Manas, who we know just a little bit. But anyway, it's been 13 days, Mark, and I've missed doing this. Obviously, this is a lot of fun to do this with you. Before we start on the football, which we are going to cover today, is the final day of the season in the Bundesliga and looking ahead to the matches coming tonight in the Premier League. Do you just want to share your shark incident in Maldives?
Yeah, I've got two things that I'm so afraid of. One is snakes, and one is sharks. So I decided, because of my tedium, I decided to go and snorkel, and it was beautiful. I went out about 20 meters into the sea, seeing all of these colourful fish that you see on Disney World, the clownfish and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. And then at the corner of my left eye, I seen this huge fish, which turned out to be a black reef or a black tip shark, a black reef tip shark or whatever it is. And I went to pieces. I couldn't get out. I couldn't get out the water quick enough, and never went back in. So yeah,
And what did they say about the sharks in Maldives, the locals over there?
the locals said that they'll never bite anybody, and then I go on Google, and all they've been doing is biting people.
That's brilliant.
So needless to say, I was watching them from the restaurant from then on in.
Yeah. So good thing that we're doing a podcast after 13 days and not after never, that you decided not to go and chase sharks again. But it's a good learning. It's a good learning. And we should do that travel thing one day. We said we would keep this about a lot of other things than football, but obviously at the core, we are very interested in football. We should come on to this. Love the story, Mark. Love the story. On that note, let's switch to what we're going to talk about today. And we have to talk about the Bundesliga. I was trying to actually find out why they play the final game on Saturday, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me why they love to play it on a Saturday when most leagues love to enter it on a Sunday. But anyway, they did it on a Saturday, and we have our results. So which team do you want to start talking about?
Well, another thing on that, I mean, they played on the Saturday, and it's the first time that all the teams have played together. So normally it's one on a Friday night, and so they all played together, and it was such a good watch. Sony do this show where you can watch one game and another game, they go to another. It was really, really good. But yeah, it was. We'll talk about Leverkusen, obviously, because they have won again and they're unbeaten in the league, which is a fantastic achievement, not only in the league. They've been unbeaten right the way through in Europa League and whatnot. So it's been a really good season. And they left a few out. They left about 4 or 5 of their regulars out. Xhaka was there. And then they went 2-0 up against Augsburg. And Augsburg were always in the game. And then Augsburg scored. And then all of a sudden, Xabi Alonso got Xhaka on. He got all the experienced players on, and they managed to get through to the end and win the game. So that was a good one. And then obviously you're looking at the bottom of the league as well, the relegation.
Before we go to the bottom, just about what Bayer Leverkusen and Xabi Alonso did. We've spoken about it for so many weeks, deservedly, but it also shows how critical it was for Xabi Alonso. I mean, he could have easily waited for 2-2 because it would still be unbeaten, but I'm pretty sure he wanted it this time. He wanted to prove that, nothing about the season has been a fluke for them. And it's 51 games unbeaten now, which is just scary. It's the first time in the Bundesliga that anyone has ever done this. Even Bayern Munich have not managed it.
Yeah, and to be 17 points clear, not only it's not 17 points clear of Bayern Munich, it's 17 points clear of Stuttgart, who have been absolutely amazing. We've got to give a big shout out to them and the manager as well. Whether the manager is going to stay, because his uncle is the CEO of Bayern Munich, there'd be an interest in him. But it was a great season. For also, we've got to mention Guirassy, the striker for Stuttgart. He scored something like 28 goals. A lot of goals.
Yeah, we spoke about him last time as well.
Yeah, 28 goals he's got this season in the Bundesliga. So we lauded Harry Kane. Harry Kane got 36. This guy got 28. So it wasn't too much of a difference between both. But it was a bad season for Bayern Munich. And you know what, Arpit? I was watching. They went 2-0 up. First 4 minutes, 1-0. 6 minutes, 2-0. And you're thinking, okay. Then who were they? I'm just trying to look. Were they playing Hoffenheim?
Hoffenheim, yeah.
Hoffenheim got a goal straight away, which is typical Bayern Munich this season. They can't defend. And then all of a sudden, Kramaric took over and got a hat-trick, and they won the game 4-2. And it was just symptomatic of the whole season. If you could encompass 90 minutes into a full season, this was the game, because they were just on their holidays. We said this before about wearing your chapels, playing football. The ones who are wearing the chapels are the ones who are already on holiday. And Bayern Munich, look, this is going to be a huge job for somebody. I mean, it's not going to be the job that people would have thought 5 years ago. Now, all of a sudden, they've got a huge task on their hands.
Yeah, first time in 12 years, no trophy for Bayern Munich. Their worst finish since a year before that, the finishing third behind Leverkusen and Dortmund that time around, and like you mentioned, behind Stuttgart and Leverkusen this time. Stuttgart, to their credit, Mark, because you mentioned this to me before we started this, the last 2 seasons were actually fighting relegation, and from fighting relegation to now finishing second. And I know people will talk about the Man City connection and money being spent, but we both know in the world of football and in life, money often doesn't buy happiness.
No, they've got a good team. I think you've got to realise last year they were in the playoffs to stay in the Bundesliga. If they hadn't beat, I don't know who it was in this Division 2, they would have been in Division 2 this season. So all of a sudden, from the playoffs, selling Endo to Liverpool, which was a big deal for them, I'm sure, and they haven't looked back. It's not only Guirassy as well. They've got a guy called Undav there as well in the team, and both of them guys have scored so many goals this season. And I think his name's Ernest, the manager. He's done an absolutely fantastic job, because Stuttgart's a decent sized club, but it's obviously been languishing at the wrong end of the table too many times. But this is great. They're in the Champions League next year. It's going to be interesting, Arpit, this season. At the end of this season, after the Euros, there's so many clubs that need to rebuild. There's so many clubs that need new managers. The merry-go-round is going to be absolutely crazy, both for managers and players.
It is. And you were talking about Union Berlin in between as well, and you're talking about playoffs. And I hope that it doesn't happen to Stuttgart, because we spoke about Union Berlin a couple of seasons ago as the fairy tale story where they were at the bottom of, Leverkusen themselves were towards 17th last season, or the season before that. But Union Berlin went up to the Champions League positions, and we were like, wow, great, the future is great. They pretty much went down, and almost, like you mentioned, the last couple of minutes were absolutely crazy for Union Berlin and Cologne, weren't they?
But I'm watching the show. You've got 9 games going on simultaneously, and they're not concentrating very much on the top, but on the bottom. And within the space of 5 minutes, it changed 3-4 times. And unfortunately, FC Cologne relegated, Darmstadt are relegated, but Bochum, who only needed, I think, was it a draw to have safety, now find themselves in the playoff now that Stuttgart found themselves in last year.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Union Berlin were 1 down, I think it was, and they were the ones that were going to go out or go to the playoffs. And then all of a sudden they come back and won 2-1. So, yeah, it was an amazing day for me. I
missed a
watched
penalty.
it all.
Yeah, they missed a couple of penalties also in that. Yeah.
And you know, the winning goal was a penalty saved, but rebounded off the keeper, and Havertz put the goal in. So it was their day.
No drama at all. No, just simple, straightforward stuff. So yeah, Leverkusen doing a great job. 28 wins. They have 2 matches coming up. Very important matches, which could be number 52 and 53 unbeaten. And if they do that, obviously they complete the treble. They have Atalanta in the Europa League final. We love Atalanta. I mean, it's 2 clubs that I think, as a neutral football fans, you absolutely love. But do you favor Leverkusen going into that one?
I just do. As we say, we've both seen Atalanta over the years and fell in love with them, both for their city, but also for their football team.
Yeah.
But I want to see Leverkusen, go through the whole season unbeaten, and I think they deserve it now. I mean, to do what they've done in them last 4 or 5 games in the Bundesliga, when the league's already won, is a testament not only to the manager but the players as well. And they keep going. They've got such a camaraderie amongst them. You've seen at the end they got presented with the cup at the end again with all of the home fans there, and every one of them they all seemed together, and again, it's because they're winning and they're not. We've always said this: when they're not winning, it goes.
They've not faced that little bit of friction that you talk about when the results don't go your way and luck doesn't go your way, whatever it is. But for now, we're very happy for them. They're going on the streak. Xabi Alonso is arguably ranked as the best coach in Europe right now, if I may say this, because of what he's done with Leverkusen.
But can I just say something about that? The pressure is very much on him next year because he set this bar so high. Now, if they get beaten the first game, all of a sudden people are going to start saying, well, I was surprised that he stayed because they can't do what they've done next year. They're going to lose a few players as well, of course. And it's going to be a difficult task because Bayern Munich will be, reorganizing themselves. Obviously, all of the teams that are in around Stuttgart are going to go out and buy players because they've got more revenue coming in with the Champions League. Dortmund. It's not going to be easy for them next year. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this year.
Let's stay in the moment. Let's stay in the moment.
Let them bask. Yeah, let them bask in the glory.
Yeah, Leverkusen. Well done to them. Just quickly on Bayern Munich, let's stay in that moment as well because it's been so haywire. We've spoken about the manager talk so many times, and then there was this little, buzz about maybe Tuchel is staying, and then now it's like, he's not staying, he's going, and especially with this last match, then you think, there was no way that was going to happen.
I hold him in more regard for him saying no. I mean, what Bayern Munich have done in the last 18 months has been stupid. It's been crazy. Sacking Nagelsmann when
it wasn't that bad
in the Champions League, and they were doing okay, and then all of a sudden Tuchel comes in, and you can look back. I don't know. There's something not right at Bayern Munich. We keep saying this. I don't know what it is because you've got a manager coming in, and then all of a sudden you hear that you've got 6 players, senior players. Kimmich, who's the captain, is one of them, who doesn't like Tuchel and doesn't want to play for him. So, and then they sack him with 6 games to go. It just doesn't make sense what goes on at that place now. They have to have a really good rethink. They will rethink because it's a big club. They will do what's necessary. But
I think the rethink will be more after last night, Mark, because finishing second, I feel they would have said, sweep this under the carpet and let's forget about it. Finishing third now suddenly becomes, oh my God. And it seems like such a small thing, but I can only imagine in the corridors of Bayern Munich, it must be going mental.
But also, what we got to realise as well now, this is an out for these players that don't want to be there. So if Musiala wants to go somewhere, he can now turn around and say, well, you've done this, you've sacked the manager with 5 games to go and all the rest of it. Harry Kane is another one. Harry Kane desperately, obviously, needs to win something in his career.
Yeah.
And everywhere he goes, it seems to be like, he's the guy that's not getting you there.
Yeah, which is not true, but I mean, yeah, that unfortunately that stigma is attached now.
And so if he goes, then all of a sudden you've lost 40 odd goals of your campaign. And as we've talked about before, if he wasn't there, can you imagine where they would have been?
Where Bayern would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
All they need now is their roof leaking and people talking about that's the next step for Bayern Munich for total collapse and fights between fans and ownership.
I thought you'd got over this, but you obviously haven't.
And we're not getting over it for a while, Mark. It's raining in Manchester and we're getting wet here. So, okay, cool. So that was the Bundesliga. Anything else you want to talk about it before we talk about the matches coming today in the Premier League, Mark?
No, I just want to, because this is the first time I've really watched the Bundesliga completely.
You watched all of the Bundesliga, Mark. I think
I did
in India,
every week.
You're the person who's watched the Bundesliga the most.
And I loved. Do you know what I loved about it? I loved every arena was packed every week. Yeah. Whether it was Bochum versus FC Köln or Bayern Munich versus Dortmund, every stadium was packed to the rafters. The amount of goals that we were getting out of the Bundesliga per week, it's like it averaged about 30, 32 goals, which is great. And if you look at the last day, you've got a 2-1, 4-2, 2-2, 4-0, 4-0, 4-1, 4. So it was really exciting to watch. And okay, the championship was done and dusted, but even that was exciting because it was Leverkusen. Never losing.
Never losing.
Yeah. So for me, it's been the best league to watch this season. It beats the Premier League for me, albeit the Premier League is more exciting right to the end, obviously, with today. But
and again, if I may just step in there, and that comparison obviously is made, the term Farmers League, which is which is very derogatory actually, and Bundesliga had 2 teams in the final 4 of the Champions League. They have one in the final, of course. They have one in the final that is potentially going to win it. So good representation of the Bundesliga, not just the matches that you're talking domestically in Europe. And then you talk about the fans. We can just expect a great summer in the Euros.
Yeah, it's going to be, obviously, the tails are going to be up. They've had a couple of good results under Nagelsmann, and they'll fancy their chances, The squad's been sent out. He was the first one to put his squad out. That tells you he's comfortable with, a few shocks in their mind, but, that's great. And that's what Nagelsmann does. He wants to get players in that are in the moment, that are playing well right now. Not the only one that he's put in, which I wouldn't have put in, was Muller. I think you can get better. Julian Brandt would have been better than Muller, and unfortunately he's not in the squad. So it's, but the German football is on the up, and next year, because it's on the up this year, they're going to get an extra place in either the Champions League or the Europa League or the Europa Conference.
Yeah, I think it's if they win, I think if Dortmund win, I think that's the stake, the 6th position, which I think is Eintracht Frankfurt. They get to play Champions League. I think that is, I feel like we're not really very well versed about it. Every time we feel like, okay, the coefficient is going to be very clear, but I think that's the deal now.
It only depends. It depends on if Dortmund win if Bayer Leverkusen win. Then they obviously can't go in.
Eintracht Frankfurt would be the ones who would be smacking the lips and thinking, holy, wow, 6th position in Champions League. Looking at the Premier League and saying, hey, where are you?
The winner of the Europa League automatically goes into the Champions League.
Champions League, yeah. So one space is done there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's been great. The Bundesliga season has come to an end. We look forward to it next season, of course, especially with all the battles that you mentioned. Let's talk about the Premier League right now. All the matches, of course, happening at the same time. I'm not going to list them out right now. I'm just going to ask you, do you want to pick your top 3 matches for tonight?
There's only 2.
Okay.
It's
Top two.
Arsenal versus Everton and Man City versus West Ham, isn't it?
There's a team called Manchester United, Mark, in the Premier
Yeah,
League.
I know, but they'll be swimming against the tide today, won't they?
At Brighton. Well done. Well done. Okay, so we'll focus on the two matches that you mentioned, and then I'll try to get in other teams as well. Which one do you want to start with, Arsenal or Man City?
Start with Arsenal. I mean, you gotta look at their season as a whole, and I think it's been a really good season for them. And again, expectation levels now. People will be disappointed, and obviously the Arsenal players and management will be disappointed if they don't win the Premier League. But if you look at it, stand away from it for the emotional side of it. If you look at it from a professional side of it, they've done ever so well this season. They've done better than last season, if you like, in terms of being able to sustain this run right to the end and push the big teams as well. It's not just like the winning against the lower league teams. It's
unbeaten against the top six, like we mentioned just a couple of times. Yeah.
And I'm not. And there's a saying like you're punching above your weight. They're not punching above their weight. They're in the right weight, and they're happily punching each other because okay, we know Man City are the best team. They got the best players, but Arsenal have done brilliant this year. What he's done, Arteta, is he's realised what was the problem, and defensively they weren't great last year, but this year they got the best defensive record in the league. So that tells you one thing that he's sorted out. And, you've got to realise that some of these players are still only very young. They're not like 28 experienced players. So I think if they don't win it this year, then they're going to be well within the mix next year.
Arsenal, well done. They're playing Everton. Easy prediction for you on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're at home. Everton are already safe. And give a big shout out for Everton because they've been points deducted twice, I think it is, and they've still managed to stay in the league. And I think there's one game, is it the not Forest are playing Burnley, and I think Forest need to win to actually stay in the Premier League, or Luton against Fulham. And if Luton win and Forest don't, Luton go ahead of Forest. So.
I think Luton need to win and Forest need to lose their match for any sort of complication. If Forest draw, it's out. It's Luton is gone, so it doesn't matter. So it's Forest result that matters. They're playing Burnley, who are
already down, aren't they?
Done and dusted. So I think it's advantage Nottingham Forest in that one.
Yeah. And also we got to mention, can we just mention another club? I mean, we talk about Man City, but let's talk a little bit about Chelsea. And what they've done, they've gone from zeros to heroes. They're going to be in the Europa League this year, having get Pochettino out. The players are rubbish. This is not right. And we know one person in our little orbit who will be very, very happy.
We have to get him on the show. We spoke to him. Yeah, we'll do that. Good. You reminded me. I mean, you were just missing for 13 days, but you have some great ideas. They've gone 5 unbeaten, have Chelsea, and they've scored a lot of goals. Last 4 wins, 7, 10, 12 goals scored in the last 4 games, and against Brighton as well, which I know was a little squeaky bum time towards the end with the sending off for Reece James, I think. But yeah, they've done pretty well in the last 4-5 games. They're playing Bournemouth, so again, easy prediction for you on that one.
Yeah.
11th. Okay, cool. City, we obviously come to City, and they're playing West Ham, which on paper is the tougher match than Arsenal playing Everton.
No. Okay. West Ham have gone. West Ham are on their holidays as well now. I mean, the manager said he's got to leave. So, these players, they can't wait to get this 90 minutes out the way. Man City, when you've got a hunger and a drive when you're playing, you've got everything in your favour. Man City at home, they need to win the league. I think it's for the 4th time is it the 4th time out of 5?
Yeah, 4th in a row. 4th in a row, which has never been done.
Yeah. So they've got that as well behind them. Obviously, Pep wants to win every game, and we'll see this as an opportunity to get his 4th title. So everything's in Manchester City's court, isn't it? Arsenal, and this is the problem with the last day games. As a supporter, you go into the game with trepidation because if you win, you still mightn't win the league for Arsenal supporters. But Manchester City supporters will be very excited because if they win, they know they're going to quite categorically win the league. So it's going to be a really emotional day, whether it's in the south or in the north of England.
Yeah. Wonder if it's setting up well for an Aguero moment again. Uh, West Ham, I just noticed this. I was looking at the table, incidentally. There are only 3 teams in the league that have conceded more goals than West Ham. So that's saying something in terms of goals. Yeah. And now you're saying they're going to be on potentially a bit of a holiday mode. On the non-holiday mode, they were ranked 4th in terms of goals conceding. So let's see what happens when they're playing City.
Yeah, and no manager as well, which is so important. Well, they still got a manager, but as a
how
player,
much would he be?
Yeah, it'll be one of those. Yeah.
Incidentally, Brighton. Oh well, I told you I'll bring in Man U and Brighton. Do you want to say anything about Arsenal and City before I move to United Brighton?
No.
And 2 points on why I want to talk about United Brighton. One, because the Brighton manager is obviously leaving. We still don't know where he's headed. Everyone's saying he could go to Barcelona, Bayern. Juventus sacked Allegri. I sent you that video. You saw that video where he was just raving. So they've sacked him in spite of going on and winning the
cup.
Winning the cup. So they're saying he could go to Juventus as well. Is there any other club that I've forgotten? No, I don't think I have. But yeah, so he leaves. Where do you think he should go? And someone just recently said, I can't remember, was it Fabio Capello who said it, that why is he ranked so highly? He hasn't won.
Yeah.
So do you agree with what he said?
Well, this is the problem in football, isn't it? It's all about what trophies you have on the table. Whether you play like Sam Allardyce or you play silky football like De Zerbi. What we know is that supporters want silky football, don't they? They want to win playing attractive football. If they don't, then they'd all go harking back in the day when Alex Ferguson used to do this, or when it was like this and whatnot. So he hasn't won anything. But his way of playing, let's get this straight. He's gone to Brighton. And if Brighton is the Union Berlin in the Premier League, it's a small club. It's on the south coast of England. It's very small. The owner, Tony Bloom, has done brilliant with it. He's invested his money. He's got loads of money back out of it with selling players. And he'll get money off De Zerbi, of course, with a compensation package. And he's quite happy to sell. And if you don't want to be there, you go. And I think between the pair of them, they've realised that Brighton aren't going any further with De Zerbi in charge. I don't know how much further they can go with anyone else in charge, because it's such a small club.
Small club. Yeah. The city is so small. For people here in India as well, it will be such a... I went to Brighton and I was amazed that you could literally cycle down the coast and then just go inside, and the city is pretty much, UK is pretty much small, Mark, when we think about it. So yeah, you're talking about the size of the city and then the size of the club. So for them to achieve something beyond it will be a little hard, like you said. And again, who's going to come to Brighton? We're talking about De Zerbi going.
Listen, it's a good club to go to because it's run right.
Yeah.
The owners.
Yeah, but they're not going to be fighting for. No. You understand what I'm saying? It's
a stepping stone club for managers. Sorry, Marino's not going to go there, but maybe a guy Marino, but maybe a guy in the bottom reaches of the Premier League or in the Championship. That's a place for people. It's a stepping stone, and also for players as well. They've got a brilliant backroom staff of scouting, or they did. A lot of them have gone to Chelsea now, but they had it. And the players that they were bringing through, which was great. And as a manager, it's great to work with better standard quality players year on, year in, and that's what's happened at Brighton. It's probably overachieved. Yeah. And so consequently, stuff like this happens, the manager has to go. Now, De Zerbi was in line for Liverpool job literally however many months ago. He didn't get it. But yeah, there's the Bayern Munich job. But will he have full control there? And this is the problem with Bayern Munich.
Yeah, we've seen that, not just Bayern Munich, we've seen that in the past, Mark, where good managers with smaller clubs have gone to bigger clubs. And then one of the statements that comes out 4 months later is, he's not able to manage the egos and players aren't ready to listen to him because he's not of the stature that the players are. So that's another aspect of the job, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and we're talking about Brighton and we're talking about managers. The one manager that did that was Graham Potter. Went to Chelsea and got sacked within 8 months.
Yeah, exactly.
So that point that you just said is very
And it's
relevant.
Bayern Munich, like you just said. It's Bayern Munich, where we're saying there is already a lot of problems where big managers have said, no, we're not going to come. So, I mean, if De Zerbi really needs to think if he's going to Bayern Munich.
But having said all of that, if I was De Zerbi leaving Brighton to go to Bayern Munich, you have to.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
it's a step up, but he's got to realise, and I'm sure he does, because he's got a lot of advisors. I'm sure that there's something not right with Bayern Munich. Whether they're going to reshuffle the whole of the upper echelons, and I'm talking the CEOs and all of these ex-players that are, making all of these decisions. I don't know, but as I say, I've always said this: if Real Madrid come calling for you,
you don't.
If Man United come calling for you, if Barcelona, you've got to go, no matter the circumstances. So he'll get a big club, I'm sure.
Okay. And I said I would squeeze in Manchester United because they're potentially on the verge of their worst season since 1990 if they don't beat Brighton. And Brighton is not an easy club to beat. Also, they beat Newcastle in the previous match. And you know how fans react to results, Mark. You were saying they want them to play silky football, but results seem to invigorate fans a lot more at times. And even what Erik ten Hag did at the end of that match, takes a microphone, goes around Old Trafford saying, you guys have been great. We are building something, whatever. And then he said, we're going to do our best to get the title, the FA Cup against Man City. Do you feel it was a little... It could have been avoided? Like you've probably just had one good result after playing not so well for a very long time. And then you, I don't know, stand up and almost beat your chest saying, yeah, we're going to do this.
Yeah, well, again, there's another saying. Sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees. And I think he's getting advised. He either got advised to do that. If we win this, go out and try and rally the troops around. And I think it's something of nothing. Whether he'll be there next season, I don't know, because there's going to be such a change. There's got to be a change in personnel, of course.
What if they lose to Brighton?
Well, he's a dead man walking already, isn't he? So, if I ask you as a Man United supporter, do you want Ten Hag there? Then you're going to say no. And then if I asked another 100,000
we need to do a show on this, right? Because we never got around to doing this about my personal feelings about Erik ten Hag and all the decisions. Because I've had these discussions with other United fans and we've argued. It's not been a consensus. We've not really agreed on things. So there's obviously a divisive factor. There'll be some fans, like you said, who'll say, yeah, we want him to build. We want players gone before we want the manager gone, which I agree with, because often managers take blame for players not doing their job. But go on.
But your opinion on this is skewed because of a certain player called Cristiano Ronaldo, right?
Ronaldo. Yeah, it is.
And he was the one that basically scuppered his career at Manchester
That was
United.
the first domino. I felt that was, the biggest domino. I don't want to say it was the first domino. Dominoes were falling for a very long time at Manchester United. I just felt that was the biggest domino to start falling. And once that force fell, it's never really, that chain has never really been broken. Anyway, like I said, we'll have to leave this for another episode completely dedicated to that. But so Erik ten Hag and Manchester United play Brighton on the last day. Any other match or any other thing you want to say?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
and I'm going to have
very authoritatively.
A eulogy. No, is it a eulogy?
Okay.
Jurgen Klopp. It's his last game.
Oh, yeah. How do we miss this?
Versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. And I just want to say, from a Liverpool supporter, what he's achieved at my football club, our football club, has been nothing short of miraculous. He's walked in, and I read an article. He said, I didn't have to change because what the Liverpool people believe, I believe also. They're my tenets of, fair play. If anyone punches you on the nose, we're all behind you, and so on and so. And he brought that into the football club. And you've got to realise, and you do, is that a football club in England is very much part of the community.
Yes.
And Liverpool City itself obviously has Everton, but Liverpool Football Club is huge, and it's a major part of people's lives. Lots of my cousins have been watching Liverpool and spent fortunes home and away going watching them. And this guy has been an absolute revelation. You know, we talk about Shankly, who he did revolutionise the club, but this guy is probably the nearest, from a fan's point of view, to Bill Shankly than any other manager that's managed Liverpool. And that goes for Kenny Dalglish, it goes for Bob Paisley, it goes for all of these, Joe Fagan, it goes for all of these managers that have been successful. But he's just endeared himself to a community. And when you do that in Liverpool, the reciprocation of love and energy for you is so good. And I just want to say thank you, Mr. Klopp, for what you've done for my club, my city. You're an inspiration. That's all I want to say.
That's brilliant, Mark. That's absolutely brilliant. Good thing you interrupted me there. I thought of this. Liverpool play Wolves, and I don't know why I didn't get this in. I can't be as amazing as you have been in your words and expression, because obviously Klopp beat Manchester United quite often at the time that he was there. But I can say this: I love Jurgen Klopp. I didn't love that he beat us so often and so authoritatively. I didn't love that they won Champions League, they won the Premier League, and we won nothing in the last few years. But yeah, he's one manager I would have loved to have at Manchester United. And I'm, obviously this is what I was thinking, but I know if he'd been at Manchester United would have just played such an exciting brand of football and would have just been in a different space. So yeah, as a fan of an opponent team, and not just an opponent team, a bitter rival, so as to speak, I can just admit as well, I love Jurgen Klopp. He's been great for Liverpool. He's been great for football. Absolutely love. And I didn't have to change much. I think Dortmund sing "You'll Never Walk Alone" as well, and Liverpool sing some song. So it's pretty similar for him in that respect. And yes, we do have to also sign off with another dedication, because we've had a footballer retire from international football in India, Mark. So we do have to pay our respects there. Sunil Chhetri, I sent him a message as well, and this guy is amazing. He replied to it, which always gives me goosebumps. And he's done so much for this country. He's in the leagues in terms of scoring goals with the likes of the greatest that have ever played the game. And he's done more than enough for this country in terms of inspiring people. He's done enough in terms of inspiring people off the pitch. And I'm a prime example of it, just in terms of his fitness. He posted this picture about him retiring, and this video, and I was looking at it and I was like, man, this guy doesn't look way older than when he started. He still looks pretty much the same. Good genetics, of course, but also so much effort that he's put in over the years.
Yeah, and also with that, with the fitness side of things, I know it comes from within, but you've got to give Ashley Westwood a bit of a shout out with this, because he was the one that changed people's mindsets
mentality,
in terms of so he was a huge influence, I'm sure, on Sunil. What he's achieved in football has been absolutely fantastic. He's been the fulcrum in the Indian national team. Obviously, he scored all of the goals. He's in the top 5 of world goal scorers. So that in itself is a great achievement. And also domestically, he's done great. So yeah, it's sad. But he's 39, so he's coming to 40 years of age, and at some point you've got to give it up. And I think he'll concentrate on his domestic football now and see how long he lasts going through with Bangalore. But yeah, he's been a revelation for Indian football, and hopefully post him retiring, he'll still be involved with the AIFF or with some. To get the grassroots of football, so we see another Sunil Chhetri. Not only one,
a lot more Sunil. Yeah,
5 more Sunil Chhetris. Yeah.
No, he's done amazingly. And one of the statements, I don't remember who said it. It's been said over the years. I'm pretty sure you've heard it in the football community as well, that it's better to retire when people say why, rather than retire when people say why not. So he's retiring at a time where I'm pretty sure most of the fans are saying, why are you retiring right now? And he's made that decision. And obviously he's a family man now, so he wants to spend a little more time with his family, and we wish him all the best. Thank you, Sunil Chhetri, for everything that you've done. Mark, anything else?
No, that was a short one.
No, it wasn't. It's close to 40 minutes. I looked at it. It feels, okay. That's what happens when you talk to me. It just feels short. But cool. we'll do our next one soon. If you're available and not flying to Maldives or Australia or Singapore or New York anytime soon, are you available? I hope over the next few days, Mark.
My globe-trotting days are over, Arpit.
Is it? You miss home, don't you? You love being
miss
home.
home. Yeah.
I know. All right. Well, thanks, Mark. Always a pleasure. Always so much fun to talk to you. And thank you all who watched and listened to this podcast. We'll see you on episode 13 very soon. Bye-bye.